Okay, today we're doing page 69 and 70. And it's division with two-digit divisors, 69 and 70. John 8:32 says, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." When we were first sinners, we were enslaved to sin, and we were not free until we found out about the truth, about Jesus dying for our sins, living the perfect life, dying for our sins, so that we may believe in Him and His pardon work for us, and we can be forgiven of our sins. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Class practice 1A. Says to divide the following. And also says remember, the remainder must be smaller than the divisor. So we look at this and we know that 20 does not go into 7. So we're going to put an X above the 7. We know that 20 does go into 74. And here's what I want you to do in trying to figure out how many times. I want you to kind of take your finger and cover up. Now I'll kind of blot it out here. Cover up the 0 and cover up the 4. You're covering up the last digits in our problem here, the 0 and the 4. And you ask yourselves, how many times does 2 go into 7? And here we're estimating our answer. Well, 2 goes into 7 3 times. So now we're going to put a 3 here. It might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. And now we need to do 20 times 3. I'm going to write it off to the side here. 20 times 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 60. And so we get 60. And now we subtract. And we get 14. Now we get 3 remainder 14. The directions were telling us to divide each one. And then they were saying to remember that the remainder must be smaller than the divisor. And here, 14 is smaller than 20, so we're good. And our answer is 3 remainder 14. Letter B. We're seeing how many times 30 will go into 93. Now we know that 30 will not go into 9, so let's start by an X right there. Now I want you to cover up your last numbers, your 0, your 3, and now ask yourself, how many times does 3 go into 9? Goes in 3 times. So now we need to do 30 times 3. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 3 is 9. We get 90. Subtract, and we have 3. So we get 3 remainder 3. And the directions told us to remember the remainder must be smaller than the divisor. And this here is smaller than that. So again, we're good. Next one, C. Okay, 60, we know it does not go into 9, but it does go into 97. So we know our number is going to go right there. Again, we're going to go ahead and cover up our last numbers here. So we'll cover up this number. And I don't want you to cross it out, but I want you to kind of maybe use your finger or your pencil to kind of make it so you don't see those last numbers that we're using. And we simply asked ourselves, how many times does 6 go into 9? 6 goes into 9 one time. So now, we're going to put a 1 here. This might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. Hey, kitty. Okay, and 1 times 60 is 60. Go ahead and subtract. And we get 37. And we get 1 remainder 37. Is the 37 smaller than the divisor of 60? Yes. So we're good. Go ahead and circle your answer. Okay, 21. We know it doesn't go into 4, but it does go into 47. So our first number will be right there. Now go ahead and cover up your last numbers and ask yourself, how many times does 2 go into 4? And remember, this might be right, this might be wrong, but it will be close. 2 goes into 4 2 times. So we'll put a 2 here. And now we need to do 21 times 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. We get 42. Go ahead and subtract. We get 5. We get 2 remainder 5. Our 5 is smaller than our 21, so again, we are good. Go ahead and circle your answer, 2 remainder 5. Okay, 20 and the 84. We know that 20 doesn't go into 8, but it does go into 84. And we need to ask ourselves, how many times does 2 go into 8? 2 will go into 8 4 times. And remember, it might be right, it might be wrong, but it will be close. And here 4 is going to work again. 20 times 4. 4 times 0. 4 times 2 is 8. And we get 80. We get 4. So we get 4 remainder 4. And since that is smaller than our divisor, like it said in the directions, we are good. 4 remainder 4. Okay, F. We know that 50 does not go into 8, but it does go into 81, so our first number will be above the 1. Covering up our last numbers, and we ask ourselves, how many times does 5 go into 8? Well, we know it goes in 1 time, and we might be right, we might be wrong, but it will be close, so we'll try 1. 50 times 1 is 50. We subtract and we get 31. And we get 1 remainder 31. It's a big remainder, but that's okay as long as it is smaller than what we have right there. Go ahead and turn to the back side. We're going to look at number 6. For 6A, it says that 1/2 of the 12 parking spaces in front of the church are filled with cars. How many of the parking spaces are filled? Well, if you did half of 12, if you divided 12 in half, divided 12 by 2, hey kitty. If you divided 12 by 2, you'd get 6. And then let's do C, since C is right here on my screen. 1/5 of Seth's 10 marbles are blue. How many of the marbles are blue? Well, you divide this 10 by 5, and that would be 2. 2 of the marbles are blue. The cat's going crazy. Here, kitty, kitty. Okay, next one. If Thanksgiving Day comes on Thursday, November 22nd, what is the date of the next Thursday after Thanksgiving Day? And so that'd be 7 days later. So you add 7 to the 22, and you'd get 29. It'd be the 29th. And we should put it'd be November 29th. I'm going to have you guys do the rest on your own because you guys are great. To help you to be able to get the rest of these done, I'm going to show you some crazy laws. Look at this picture here. It says no frowning from 12:01 a.m. to 7 p.m. unless except by a permit. So unless you have a permit to frown, there's no frowning here. Now, when I was a kid, I always remember thinking that there's a country called Turkey, and I always thought that was a funny name, but there's a country called Turkey. You can find it on the map later. And raise your hand if you drink coffee. Raise your hand if you drink coffee. Well, if you had lived in Turkey, and it was in the 16th and 17th centuries, anyone who was caught drinking coffee, according to their crazy laws, you'd be put to death. They would execute you if you were caught drinking coffee. Isn't that a pretty crazy law? Here's another crazy law. This comes out of Kansas. It is illegal to throw knives at men wearing striped suits. Mina. It is illegal to throw knives at men wearing striped suits. I wonder why they made this law. Such a weird law. Alright, here's another one. This comes out of Georgia. You have the right to commit battery. You have the right to beat up on somebody if provoked by fighting words. So if somebody said, come on, you want to fight? You could start fighting them, and it's legal. You're allowed to do it. Here, this is out of Aspen. It says catapults may not be fired at buildings. I wonder why they needed to make that law. Go ahead and do the rest on your own. Make sure if you ever visit Aspen that you don't build a catapult and fire it at a building. Come here, kitty.